Welcome to the 2021 ABB Automotive Summit. The automotive industry is facing some major challenges in transforming to greener vehicle production. And that's why we are here today to talk about it in much more detail. From sustainability to transitioning to e-mobility and alternative drivetrain concepts or massive increase in individualized products, how can the world's leading auto companies and suppliers overcome these challenges and thrive? Today we have gathered some of the very best experts from across the automotive industry to share some answers and define optimal strategies for adaptation. Opening proceedings will be our president, Dr. Sami Atiya, with an overview of the present context and how ABB is the natural partner of choice for the coming transformation. Then I will be chairing a roundtable discussion with experts from both inside and outside the ABB organisation. From ABB, Jörg Rieger, MD of Business Line Automotive, and Veronica Pascual-Boé, CEO of ASTI Mobile Robotics, will be giving their views from the ABB perspective. And to ensure a balanced viewpoint, we will also be hearing expertise from Thomas Look, partner and managing director of the Kearney Consultancy, and Dr. Goodeye, director future production and plant concepts at Volkswagen. We will then pick up with Thomas Wagner and Václav Sverb, ABB's global automotive heads for business line and digital and innovation, respectively. They'll be sharing ABB's innovation portfolio and flexible manufacturing concepts. To end the day, there will be 10 breakout sessions available, and you will be able to choose 2 to attend and will have the opportunity to put your questions forward. So let's get down to the business in hand. With his long experience and broad overview of the challenges facing automotive manufacturing, there's no one better placed to tell us where we go from here. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Sami Atiya, President of ABB Robotics. Sami, over to you.
Thank you very much, Diana. I want to extend a warm welcome and to thank each of you for joining us today. As we emerge from the pandemic, we are facing the greatest change in the industry since automated production line. And that is why we are here today. Automotive manufacturing has always been at the forefront of automation. The industry has the opportunity to lead the transformation to a more sustainable world. Only 5 years ago, respected market analysts told us that by 2030, electric vehicles could range from 10 to 50% of new vehicle sales. Today, General Motors says it will make only electric vehicles by 2035. Ford says all its vehicles sold in Europe will be electric in 2030. And Volkswagen also says 70% of its global sales will be electric by 2030. At ABB, we have been helping to define automation in the automotive industry for 50 years. It has always been about productivity and quality, scaling up and doing more. But the key word I hear from customers around the globe is flexibility. How can you make us seize these opportunities and be more flexible? And I see it as our job at ABB to help come up with these answers. There are 2 key challenges that we believe present enormous opportunities. The first is the powertrain revolution fueled by government's directives for end of combustion engine sales and driving e-vehicle adoption. In Europe, 8 nations have declared separate targets for zero-emission vehicle by 2045 or sooner. This drives greater complexity in the number of architectures and technologies in planning and production. And it is set against uncertain demand as nations introduce varying e-vehicle targets and incentives. The second is short-term operational uncertainty, with global megatrends affecting everyone, from trade barriers to the pandemic, from the supply chain issues to the global semiconductor chip shortage. We are all dealing with the new normal. At the same time, global labor shortage is driven by an aging population who are less willing to do dull, dirty, and repetitive jobs. Adding to the complexity and the opportunity is the consumer revolution. Personalization is here to stay. Customers want their products now, they want them customized, and they want them sustainable. Recent climate actions pledged from COP26 will impact manufacturing, creating new opportunities from sustainable production methods, materials, and technologies will be determined by how companies can adapt in using technologies, in reacting to global demand, in efficiency, and in sustainability. We can play a role in delivering the operational flexibility and process simplicity you need. Artificial intelligence and automated mobility are moving us from linear production to seamless integrated modular production cells. The future is flexibility. From varying productions of architectures, powertrains, and even paint within the same factory to anticipating demand and managing complexity. To complement our flexible manufacturing offering, we recently acquired ASTI Mobile Robotics, making us the only company to offer a full automation portfolio from the AMRs, robots, and machine automation solutions. Just as important as hardware is intelligent engineering, simulation, and control software, orchestrating all our platforms, robots, AMRs, and machine automation. Integrated smart automation increases efficiencies, so we can help customers produce according to their demand. Within that framework, new technologies can help use less energy and create less waste. Consider pixel paint, which applies 100% of paint to a car, reducing waste by 30%. This removes the need to dispose of wasted paint and reduces extraction requirements in the factory, lowering energy use and contributing to manufacturing sustainability. And pixel paint helps meet the growing demand for personalization, able to deliver several body colors in a single pass with no masking, reducing complexity. Another example is our Akopos Track solution from Machinery Automation Division, which is already supporting a major battery manufacturers to produce its cells quickly and safely. Beyond our solution breadth, the reason we deliver to our customers now and in the future is our sector expertise. Several of our customers have said that ABB knows better than anyone how to build a new manufacturing line. I would say that after 50 years and more than 500,000 installations, we have an unrivaled knowledge of the automotive sectors, and we like to think we operate as a partner, not as a supplier. I look forward to our discussions and to answering your questions on some of the big issues facing our industry today and where the next decade is going to take us. And again, thank you for joining us.
Welcome back, and thank you very much for joining us. I'm still here with Sami, and it's time now to have a little bit more of an in-depth conversation about your address earlier. What's been one of the major catalysts for change, and is sustainability a factor?
Well, COVID has been a major catalyst for change, but it actually hasn't started any trends on its own. The industry is dealing with a revolution in powertrain. At the same time, it is seeing opportunities and challenges from global megatrends and new uncertainties. Whether that is personalization and the individualization of customers empowered by e-commerce, to the global labor shortage or uncertainty in supply chains. And above all is the demand for sustainability at every step. Today, flexibility in operations is an essential strategic need. Those who cannot change will not survive.
What are some of the benefits of intelligent automation?
Firstly, intelligent automation can give you the flexibility to respond to demand. That is both in what can be produced in a single facility to the ability to lift and shift production from one location to another as demand dictates. For example, we know that battery assembly and manufacturing of vehicles will need to come together in the future. Our battery assembly solution can be installed closer to car production, to avoid shipping and so contribute to their sustainability. Secondly, if you focus on the manufacturing process, you can look at the greater efficiency and precision. That is about minimizing waste, reducing time, and reducing energy use in manufacturing, which all contributes to sustainable goals.
Can you name some of the trends in auto manufacturing, particularly in relation to electronics and sustainability?
Yes, there are two trends in auto manufacturing that bring complexity: electronics and the use of new materials. Both can only be managed by intelligent automation. In electronics, the number of sensors, interfaces, and onboard computing has risen dramatically over the last decade. This creates more options and features, which is great for the consumer choice, but also drives complexity. It can only really be enabled with smart automation, not just at the OEM, but also at the Tier 1 supplier level. And then you have sustainability driving the use of more recycled and recyclable materials, including fabrics and textiles replacing traditional plastics. Automation is key here to incorporate the use of new and non-traditional materials efficiently, to the right quality and with minimum waste. But the key point is that none of this can be delivered without off-the-shelf systems. It needs bespoke solution designed and developed with OEMs and their suppliers.
So what are some of the benefits of artificial intelligence? Or are we quite a long way off from that?
So for me, artificial intelligence will make automation smarter, faster, and more flexible. AI improves the efficiency of the tasks robots already do and allow them to do these tasks even stronger and faster. So it will evolve and enhance the flexibility we can offer to our customers. We already have AI-powered robots working today. For example, AI vision, powered robots checking welds in body manufacturing 10 times faster than doing the same job and much more accurate, able to identify defects as small as 20 microns. Another example is robots using deep learning together with sensor fusion to accurately assemble a vehicle cockpit as the body is actually traveling down the production line. So AI robotics is not just the future, it is happening now. For the future, I personally think there are two big developments that will drive manufacturing flexibility: learning and mobility. We are using reinforced learning so that our robots can learn tasks rapidly, working in uncontrolled environments. And then autonomous mobility will enable the next generation of intelligent robotics. This is a critical step to continuing to move robots from fixed points on a factory floor to work alongside with humans. I believe that the changes facing the automotive industry present tremendous opportunities and new possibilities for manufacturers.
Sami, thank you so much. An incredible amount of work has gone on and progress. You must be very proud of what you see so far.
Yes, absolutely, Diana. I mean, we have been driving innovation in this industry for almost 50 years now, helping our customers in automotive and in other industries. And I personally think the next 20 years in robotics and in automotive will be even more exciting years. Very proud of the team and all what our company has done to improve and transform the industry and society.
Thank you, Sami. A fabulous insight there from Sami Attia, truly inspiring and presents a really bright future. Next up, we'll be talking to the industry heavyweights with an informal Q&A. Now, I am very honoured to introduce you to some heavyweight industry experts who are joining our panel today. From ABB, Jörg Rieger, MD of Business Line Automotive, and Veronica Pasquale-Boe, CEO of ASTI Mobile Robotics. Also joining us to share their perspectives from outside of our organisation, we are delighted to welcome Thomas Look, Partner and Managing Director of Kearney Consultancy, and on Zoom, Dr. Michael Gooder, Director, Future Production and Plant Concepts at Volkswagen. So welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us. We have a lot to discuss, so please feel free to share your views during our discussion. So let's begin. And Jörg, I'll start with you, if I may. It's a fast-moving picture right now for the industry with legislation, demand and powertrain technology, all basically in a state of constant evolution. Given such an unpredictable context, what's your strategic advice to manufacturers?
First of all, thank you, Diana, for introducing me. Thanks for that. Coming to your question, I mean, yes, there is still uncertainty and also unpredictability in the market for the manufacturers because of COVID and also the shortage of material. And then still there is a question about the fastness of the growth for the e-mobility. But what is very clear and also obvious, all indicators are showing that there will be a strong and accelerated growth of the e-production in the coming months of years. All indicators are showing that. For example, looking at the sales unit for e-vehicles, at the moment, 2021, around about 6% globally. 2030, it is already going up to 30%, and in 2035, expecting 50%. So a strong growth, and also the big brands still announcing every week, I would say, a new investment on e-mobility. And then more and more countries are also putting now bans for the ECE production starting in 2030 or 2035. So there will be a strong growth coming. And this means that there will be also then getting more complexity into the manufacturing because the companies have to bring into production a huge amount of new vehicle type of cars. And our answer for this increasing complexity coming here in the production is very simple: flexible production. So we want to support our customers here with more flexible solutions and with technologies and solutions driving also sustainability. When we are talking about highly automated, flexible production line, we mean that we have a production cell with the latest state-of-art technology, and we are really aiming in this production cell, unit by unit, to have another type. So really fully flexibility in the production cell. And this we want to combine with a smart logistic concept. So we are looking beyond the production into logistics, and we want to bring the logistics closer to the production. And by this, by this kind of solutions, we really believe that we're also driving sustainability. So reducing cost, reducing energy, and I mean, that is not only important for manufacturers, that is important for all of us, for our whole society, driving a better and cleaner environment for the future.
Thank you, Jörg. Thomas, I take it that Kearney Consulting is seeing many of the same strategic needs opening up across the sector.
Absolutely, and before I build upon what Jörg just said, let me thank you for this opportunity to actually speak here. I personally always find it very inspiring to be amongst industry leaders and then learn and exchange for the other. And also I think that format now where we somehow transform also our insights now to the organization and beyond, I think I really want to applaud you to that because I think it's a really encouraging moment, and I hope that there's far more to come on that sense. If I step back for a second and building on Jörg's comments, I think overall when we talk nowadays to CEOs and boards, we see three major themes. And one of these themes is the typical new norm. I mean, we all are faced, as Jörg mentioned, we are faced with a pandemic, we are faced with a semiconductor crisis, we are also looking towards what's coming next and having that kind of view. And then there's a great resignation, which all gives us challenges of our organization to have the right talents to move forward. I think that's a big topic where we are currently looking into tools like scenario planning and looking a little bit more further into the future in order to understanding these kind of moments. But there's also the other side where we have to say this is part of your normal job from now on, right? This is part of your daily job and it's not your major thing. A lot of CEOs think, oh, now for a couple of months, a half a year and so on, and then it's over. But guess what? It's not, right? And I think that's a major theme, how to digest and how to work with that. The second theme, which we see, which comes more strongly, is the theme about strategic bets. We see clearly that companies who have place these bets on a long-term, midterm to long-term basis really excel in the market and really drive shareholder value. And I think, Dr. Goethe, maybe later on you can also share a little bit how your boss is actually addressing that, because we see that also from the capital markets. There's a clear demand and for a storyline for these bets, which you will have to place at a certain point in time. And if you look into what's China, there are impressive examples of companies in the insurance space, for example, who are investing 15% of their revenues each year into that game. And that kind of consistency we see really makes a difference. Last but not least, I think we all encountered, I think Jörg mentioned it, that the announcements in terms of EVs, they are like every day, every week they're changing. I see it from the supplier side, the order book is changing, the volumes which are there dramatically from week to week. It's really a complex and very dynamic environment. But what we see here is that the speed which we have to take up, if we look at classical vehicle development, taking like 5 to 7 years, in China it's like 2 years. They do a lot of things differently, and I think it's up to us to accelerate, because in this market environment we can only survive if we have that kind of speed momentum.
Veronica, I saw you nodding in agreement there. What did you think of that?
I completely agree with what you were saying. I think we need to understand how technology is also enabling new operational models that will support not only what we think will be the future, but that we need to prepare today for the future to come. And this demands an evolution in our mindset too.
I think that's absolutely right. And what I try to highlight a little bit is that the mind of the boards are somehow like at the moment at the current survival mode, right? They try to make it somehow work. But unfortunately, we really have to also now look into the future and place these bets and be prepared. And I think a lot is also in the answer of like how we build an ecosystem where we trust each other and then leverage all our capabilities, not only thinking like, hey, I do my perimeter, but rather as an ecosystem work together. And I hope that we can leverage these kind of supplier collaboration models in order to drive the future.
Thank you, Thomas and Veronica. And Jörg, if I could just come back to you. One of the big questions for manufacturers right now are the concerns about the global powertrain and its increasing complexity. With different vehicle applications, different regions, and basically no defining global legislation, how do you see this playing out on the market?
It's interesting, Diana, we just published a white paper touching exactly this point. You know, the increasing complexity in the global powertrain coming by the e-mobility. And I mean, it's not only about, you know, building a new EV powertrain or building a new EV production. The complexity has very different layers, and it's really more, let me say, complex. And looking a little bit into the drivers for complexity, would you give some examples? First of all, we will see a strong and fast expansion of the range of the vehicle types now with the EV production. And today they have already the ICE production and the hybrids, and now on top coming the EV types. And as we already heard, will be very fast accelerating these kind of types. Give you an example. The big brands today, they have between 6 and 8, I would say, pure electrical types of vehicles, and they want to go up. That is what they are announcing, go up until 2025 to 30, even to 50 vehicles, different types. So it's a huge amount of additional types they have to integrate, and that is very complex for them. Should they go with a separate platform or making a mix? So that is one issue and we of course we want to help to solve that for them, this challenge. And let me touch another point. Looking at the powertrain assembly, it's completely different, and there will be additional steps. Some steps will change, and an example here is looking at the battery. The architecture of the or planning of the battery tray is completely different, or the assembly and the manufacturing of the battery itself is a complete new process with new technologies, new applications needed. And looking at the electrical motor, by the way, it's the same challenge, you know, it's new. So there are a lot of things increasing complexity. And then you asked about the region. My feeling is that in Asia, you know, per se, it's the biggest market in the automotive industry, but this not automatically means that they are the number one in the e-mobility, but they are. And one reason, of course, is a strong support by the government, but we also see that there are, compared to the rest of the world, there are a lot of new EV players, startups, just focusing on building e-cars. And that brings really a push, and they do not have this legacy coming from the EC production. So looking at the rest of the world, more to the eastern part, I think they are catching up at the moment. When we have seen the recent numbers for Europe, EV production is increasing 2021, and also this year very strong, first time above the numbers of China. So there, I mean, shows us what we already heard from you is that they are really, starting now to manage the transition, and this is much more difficult to make a transition. Starting with the old stuff is always more difficult, but they are managing it in a very good way, and we want to support here.
Thomas, if I could come back to you. I'm guessing that the ratio mix of these different powertrains must vary by market as well.
That's absolutely right. And actually that is good news. I think Jörg just mentioned the whole complexity. I will go into that a little bit deeper in a second. But actually that the markets are becoming, in the progression of electric vehicles, electrification and so on, are staged, gives us some time in order to concentrate and then to figure out things, and then also scale in a more smooth manner. So that adoption rate, that it varies from Europe, China, and then the US and so on, and beyond that, I think it's a good notion for us. But building on the complexity Jörg just mentioned, I think if you just look on the e-motor side, he mentioned our e-motors, hydrogen, and so on and so forth, all the different powertrain combinations which are feasible. But if you look only on the e-motor side, if a supplier now is faced with setting up a line, actually, he is in most cases already late. That's the dynamic which we have here. The SOP is set, right? We cannot change the SOP, and retrograds, when we look at that, we cannot work in a normal way because we would not be able to put all the contents into that process. So what that means is actually we are already in task force mode, and we don't know the process design. The process design looks very much different. The product design is in most cases not standardized. And also the way how we industrialize is not clarified. So the complexity is enormous. And during these kind of situations, we look a little bit outside the industry. We see the same phenomenon actually in games, in the game development. And what we see there is every game is somehow late. And then in a very late stage, actually, we are throwing resources on a late project, something which we would normally not do. But there are some lessons learned from the gaming industry that they see there are agile teams who work independently. And that kind of cultural change where we let go of a command and control system, where someone like tries to tell the supplier actually how to do things, I think that kind of collaboration notion we should work a little bit more on. And if we have like somehow a trust-based relationship where the incentives of the SOP is clear for everyone, then I don't think that we should waste too much time with the control processes and believe a little bit more on the innovation strength of the suppliers.
Thank you, Thomas. Well, I'm now going to bring in Dr. Gooder, who's been waiting patiently to join the conversation. Dr. Gooder, welcome. Now, your team must be facing the same challenge over at Volkswagen.
Yes, I can confirm that. So it's very exciting to drive the electromobility for the decades and future to come. Yeah, and so it's important to accelerate the innovativeness, accelerate developments, and bring in new models into the market.
Yeah, I just want to come back to your point. What we really see is we have executing projects running, and during the executions we never have seen that before. So many changes are coming by the customer, and this shows us all that the process and the design is still not really fixed. We are on an area where we are all sitting in the same boat, where we have to learn, and this is at the moment the biggest challenge we have, all of us. We are behind schedule. Everybody is pushing to bring more e-cars out, but still on the design and in a different process, we are not finalized. And that's a big challenge in the execution, I fully agree.
And to help on flexibility, we need to first be flexible ourselves, no? So we need to also relearn that path of being flexible to allow others to be flexible too. And this is along the full value chain.
And it's, I think, somehow also like an illusion to think about that now we can change the customers, we can change what kind of products are defined and so on. We will have to learn how to adapt and how to work with that. That kind of uncertainty in terms of design process and so on, we will have to manage that at the same time and then work together with the OEMs in order to make it somehow work. But because it's so dynamic, we have to be a little bit more autonomic in that sense that we somehow have like guiding rails, and then we know within the guiding rails what we can do, but not someone who tells everyone else like what to do. Like the central command and control system, I mentioned it many times because I still see it so often, is not the working mode which works for the future.
Dr. Gooder, would you agree with those points from the panel?
Absolutely, absolutely. I can confirm those. Of course, there are other issues. Maybe we can discuss this further on.
I'd like to stay with you for a moment, Dr. Gooder, and just ask you another question. Of course, battery manufacturing must be another key issue for your team, with new priorities now to consider. So how is this playing out on the factory floor?
Yeah, so first of all, battery system technology know-how is essential. And Volkswagen is investing further multi-million euros in expanding battery research, battery development to remain at the forefront of battery technologies. And furthermore, we intensively invest in our own battery system production. And so we'll be starting to produce our own battery cells next year from our first battery factory based in Germany. And we believe we'll be competitive with our own capabilities for internal supply demands and enforce process efficiencies to drive down the cost of battery production by up to 50% in the years ahead. And so we believe a vertical integration approach will be an essential core activity to keep a top player in electromobility markets worldwide.
Dr. Gooder, thank you for the moment. I just want to go back to Thomas now. Thomas, with the rates of powertrain adoption across different regions still hard to predict, how does the Kearney consultancy advise manufacturers on integration and scaling up cost efficiency?
I think there are, as you mentioned, clearly by regions it's different, right? We see until 2030, we see like Europe much ahead of all the other regions. Then close China. I mean, in absolute terms, of course, China is the biggest market, but in relative terms, into BEV adoption, for example, in these rates, we see them a little behind Europe. So that's a development what we have here. And then I think there's China and then the rest of the world. I think it matters a lot actually that we figure out like the ways how we scale in terms of the incentive systems, because what I experience in most cases is when someone now thinks about like a production line and then says like, okay, we have all these assets which are placed there, but in reality I'm not so much interested in these assets, all right? I'm not interested actually to buy a typical machine. I'm interested in the output. I'm interested on the performance which comes out of that, right? And I would like to see that we have more incentive systems and collaboration models which bring us more in line to focus on the output of a production line and not only on the single item. And what we see nowadays is really still we are battling about the single items when we combine the lines, when we have like frictions in setting them up and making them work for SOP, and that's not very smooth. And I think for being sure to make a successful ramp up in time, in quality, and hitting the volume targets which we have, I think a new model of collaboration would be advisable.
Yeah, that I want to add something, and also what Dr. Gooder said. I mean, this is a trend we see in the market, you know, when it comes to the assembly and manufacturing of the battery. There is a discussion how to bring that closer together and also move this part closer to the factory, what Mr. Gooder said. They are really investing now to get an own manufacturing of battery close to their plants. And this is what we see, as you said, there are joint ventures coming up more and more to get smart production concepts overall, getting the assembly and the manufacturing of the battery closer to the plants. And of course, if we look at sustainability, makes sense. I mean, why should we ship batteries or batteries around the globe instead of having them close to? And if you look at to the market leader, Tesla is showing how successfully this is working, bringing it more in one area together and having all processes there, and to be faster also when it comes to delivery times to the customers.
I want to add upon this maybe a little bit and not like completely explode the scope here, but in the construction field, right? Everyone who has built a house knows it, right? And if you try to manage it by yourself, it's a nightmare, right? Sometimes the guys are not coming, it's showing up, and you don't connect all these dots, and it's costs are exploding, right? And they came up with a new concept which is called IPA, right? It's a collaborative mode, and their suppliers are selected for each area. And they are not only selected based on cost, but also in the way how they see their own capabilities, their attitude to work together and so on, and they're qualified on that. And then they are also incentivized on the overall result. So if the overall project gets on time, on track and everything, everyone gets paid well. But if someone who, it doesn't matter who it is, basically does not perform to par, then everyone pays as a penalty for that. And that clearly incentivized to get my house done in the right time and order, right? And I just want to say, like, maybe we'll find some adoption of it. I'm not saying exactly like that, but I'm really surprised or inspired that the construction industry, which is such an old industry, came up with something quite unique and innovative.
And Veronica, I believe this is where your expertise can help us with intralogistics and autonomous mobile robots. What's the approach?
Exactly. So the question here is that intralogistics is really about having a interconnected flow of safe and efficient material goods transport throughout the plant. And this means from automated inbound to warehouses, from warehouse to supermarkets, because supermarkets are having a very increased complexity because of what we've just said. So many more modules, therefore so many more components, and we have the same space in the brownfields. So the question is how those supermarkets need to be automated, and then the transport flow to the sub-assembly lines and to the lines, and then understanding, as we've just said on the battery packs, that next to the main lines, you might be needing to have sub-assembly lines so that the cars that will have these battery packs will go outside in a very flexible manner and with a very modular approach so that the battery packs will be mounted automatically. So the full concept of smart, flexible production that has been previously introduced is about having all these cells connected, intelligent, interconnected through mobile robots, so that we really enable what we are talking here, many more models and volume mixes that we do not know how will evolve. So that's why this concept is so extremely important.
And thinking about the legacy and a view on net zero emissions, how can flexible technology then breathe new life into traditional equipment so you don't have to tear everything up and start again?
Well, I think this is just a great question, and I'm sure also Dr. Göde is going through this thinking on all their sides. So, adapting to the future or preparing for the present flexible is not about greenfields only. This is about how we adapt our brownfields. And the question is, how do we have our fixed production lines increased in flexibility? So how can we add new robotic cells? How can we interconnect those robotic cells through autonomous mobile robots to the main lines, and how we can build overall increased flexibility. This is also about how we minimize barriers, the usage of strong infrastructures that are difficult to change over time, to reduce also the consumption of energy. And so what we were saying before, this is also about how we drive flexibility by being flexible and having also better usage of the shop floor.
I'll just bring Dr. Göde back in there again. You've heard what the panel have had to say, what Veronica has been saying. What's your view on that?
I fully agree. Yeah? So flexibility is a must criteria. And I would like to underline the importance of brownfield rethinking our existing factories. So as you know, for Volkswagen Group is running more than 130 sites worldwide. And of course, this capacity is a vital lever for our new products, so the electromobility cars. And so therefore we need to rethink how is the best way to reconstruct brownfields, to install further capabilities to meet targets of the future. And I would like to underline maybe two most important issues here. Yeah, so we intend to reduce the hours per vehicle produced tremendously by a factor of 2 to 3. And this can only be achieved by using the latest available technologies in automation, in digitalization of the entire production system. And this can only be successfully achieved with strong collaborations, to meet the SOPs in time, to join resources and to be successful together.
From what Dr. Guder had to say there, does that lie with what your thinking is?
Yeah, I mean, on the shop floor level, what Veronika already said, the way forward is this flexible concept, or having flexible concept combined with the logistic. This is the only way really to get the full flexibility. If we are having one cell after another, what is still in the brownfield in most cases, I mean, then you are limited in the flexibility. And with the HGVs bringing that into the picture, and also the whole logistic, this brings really the flexibility. And we are discussing different concepts, all based on the HGVs with customers, like, for example, Volkswagen with Dr. Göde here. And there, I mean, still, you know, looking, there is a transition, and it's still, you know, we have a lot of debates to let this legacy behind us and moving faster and quicker with new solutions. But it is a good discussion, and I have a feeling the higher the pressure is getting for the European transition, the customers are more open for new concept, and I like that a lot. And I see there will be more and more solutions coming based on HGVs and having all the logistics part into it.
It's really the solutions that you need.
Yeah, and it's also a challenge for the production people. Normally, they are just looking on the production and not on the logistics. And now we are asking, hey guys, look at the overall picture, bring the logistics in. Very big change for them, a mindset change. But we really strongly believe that this is the way forward, right?
For me, I think it's very inspiring to hear what Veronika just mentioned, like all these innovations which are taking place. So, and we also looked a little bit in our studies about the factory of the future, and we recognized that about 25% of future technologies can already be implemented today, right? So there is a lot of innovation available, right? The big question mark which we see, and particularly also in automotive logistics, we all know that when we go there, it still is not so speedy and innovative as we would like to have it. So the question is, like, how can we form like a real mechanism actually to bring that innovation actually into the lines, and I really hope that we see some more collaboration advancements here.
It's ever evolving, I think.
Yeah, I think we're getting there. I think exactly also these kind of exchanges where we have these ideas, right? And then later on, we're going to talk a little bit with Veronika a little bit more what kind of exactly concepts we have now focusing on. And then we talk about with the OEMs. This is, I think this is exactly what drives actually adoption. And therefore, I'm so happy to be here with you all together.
Thomas, I'm going to stay with you for the moment. And another question I have for you is that many might expect new EV plants to require greenfield sites, but that isn't necessarily the case, is it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Actually, I'm fascinated about new plants always, like, and particularly in China, we see them like booming. So it's always nice to build something new, but it's not necessarily the right strategy for everyone. We see that in some regions it makes sense, particularly if a product is based on certain customer demands, configurations, a certain volume. And then it makes to think about greenfield in a small sized neat plant, but which still has a very modular approach. And I think that's the good news. I think with a modular approach, we are on the right track. So bringing, like, for example, our legacy plants into the future requires also a very, let's say, a very precise changeover, and therefore the modular approach can help with that. It's not like completely reholding everything at the same time, but more like very precise, invasive procedures in order to bring them into the future. And we do believe that this modular approach is going to stay because the potential actually to scale and to do it in a cost-efficient manner is something which is unique, and we do believe that this is the way how also in the future these kind of plants will grow.
So I'm guessing then, Thomas, that replacing petrol and diesel ICEs with power packs will completely change the traditional auto supply chain model.
It will, I think, and I think also Dr. Goethe mentioned clearly they're having a focus on that, and I do believe that's also the right focus. Batteries in terms of cost, but also in terms of performance, make such a difference to the customer experience. So we want to make sure that this is something which we have in our parameter and where we can make a difference for the customers. But there are still many questions. I think the battery technology is advancing like crazy. We see the battery becomes part of a structural element, but even beyond, the structure itself becomes a battery, like if we think a little bit further in the time horizon. So lots of innovation taking place, which all will make a difference for the consumers and customers. And on the other side, I think recycling also plays a major part. I think we have valuable resources. We see parts during the production process where we have to think already there is scrap material, how can we recycle that? And everyone else focuses a lot actually on the battery packs, on the modules, actually end of life, how we deal with that. And that has a tremendous influence also on the recycling supply chain. So definitely an area where a lot of innovation still takes place.
Thomas, thank you so much. Really interesting answer there. But Jörg, I understand you've got a question for Dr. Goethe.
Yeah, I want to come back to this question, how many greenfields we need and what are we doing with the legacy, with the installed base we have. And I think, Dr. Goethe, maybe you can explain a little bit how you are doing it, coming up with more and more EV vehicles, but on the other side, you have your legacy, I mean, your existing plants, and how you are driving the planning, on one side getting more electrical production, but on the other side phasing out of existing type of vehicles.
Yeah, so thank you very much. That is a really challenging question. So when introducing our first EV platform, the so-called modular electromobility system, so we mainly focus on brownfield reconstruction. So that does mean we launched our first ID family car in Germany, where we completely reconstruct the existing brownfield and installed a completely new body shop and a completely new assembly line to be able to produce very effectively the ID3 and ID4 family nowadays. And so this strategy, we are pushing forward with a new entirely EV producing plant in Emden, in US, in North America, in Chattanooga, and of course next plants will be on an approach. There's a complete different situation in China, where we intend to increase our factory capacity. So there we foresee also greenfield approaches to bring in the EV models to the Chinese market, very strongly. So I was very interested in the discussion whenever it is advantages or not to push greenfield approach. So we believe that within a greenfield approach, you can bring in more entirely advantages with respect to innovativeness, to the production system, to logistics, to flexibility, and also to green and sustainable production. So therefore, to give you an interesting outlook, what is the strategy for Volkswagen for the decades to come? We are already starting intensively to develop our next platform, which will be the predecessor of the MEB and the PPE platforms that we have in the Volkswagen Group. So it's a new scalable system platform that provides entirely scope of all the EVs in the Volkswagen Group. And so there we announced this week there will be a new model which provides this new platform also in Germany in the main center in Wolfsburg called Trinity. And so there we believe it's the best option to play a top role in the OEM producing EVs. The greenfield approach can match the advantages at its best to provide everything in its whole flexibility, cost optimization, automation, automation in the plant, and furthermore, this very increasing importance of entirely sustainability.
Thank you, Dr. Goede. Thank you for giving us this inside view. Thanks.
Some really interesting points from Dr. Goede there. Anyone got anything to add, or was anything a surprise?
No, I mean, it's super interesting to hear that they're really switching, obviously complete plants from ECI to EV production. And that is obviously more the way you are using for Europe and US. But also what I understood, in some areas you are going also in Europe for new plants, because then you can really take the full potential of automation in when you are going for a greenfield, right? That was my
Absolutely
understanding.
right. Also to showcase the innovativeness in its whole. Yeah. So, and this is advantages where whenever you have the chance to get a greenfield factory launched in Europe, explicitly in Germany. Yeah, so it is really a challenge, and so we are at the moment joining our forces to make this real. Yeah, so beyond 2025.
Clearly, I think, and I like the direction very much, because in the past I once said like greenfield and so on, it's very difficult, particularly in the Europe and so on. But clearly the calculation shows with all the innovation we have, it pays for itself, right? If it's in the right use case, the right size of a plant, the right products and so on, a greenfield approach makes a lot of sense also economically. And I think that's a change in the mindset of many traditional OEMs. I think that's really nice to see. On the other side, what we see with that is we will enlarge our production network, and therefore the steering of a production network amongst all these plants becomes more crucial. And so for that, we also have to have a mid to long-term strategy in order to make sure that with that combination of plants, we will achieve the overall goals. And I think with that, both considerations together, I think that this is a more sustainable platform for the future.
It's great to know what's coming and what you've got to work with. But Thomas, let me ask you about another potential source of power for a moment with regard to hydrogen fuel cells. We hear that hydrogen is an upcoming possible sustainable technology. How do you see this technology being adopted, and how soon do you think we will see hydrogen-fueled cars on our streets?
Hydrogen is a very controversial topic. I think also Dr. Goede and your company has a clear stance on hydrogen as well. So I'm very much looking forward also to your view on this one. I think some facts are very clear. I think it's for the moment, a very costly technology. We hope that with innovation, the cost will be driven down, similar to what we have with electrification on the battery side and so on. We know that the infrastructure requirements are quite high, and therefore the implications in the adoption rates in the different countries will vary even more massively than with electrification. And last but not least, I mean, on the physics side, we know that the degree of efficiency is different than with electrification. Still, from our side, we encourage actually regulations to further support that kind of technology openness. We do believe that there are use cases which can make a lot of sense, particularly on the long haul side, heavy duty trucks, ships, for example. So we do believe that this part of technology still enables also very efficiently mobility spaces. And that's why we are very positive and very optimistic about it as well.
Dr. Goede, you heard what Thomas had to say there. What does this mean for Volkswagen, and what are their immediate to long-term plans regarding hydrogen?
So generally, hydrogen will be a very important lever for decarbonization strategies and to meet the legislative targets. So from an OEM point of view, hydrogen usage will be very attractive for carbon-free supply of energy, as well as energy storage, or to decarbonize energy-intensive process and production industries, also raw material production like steel or aluminum. And of course, we believe its hydrogen technology will deliver very attractive complements for alternative fuel production pathways. Furthermore, hydrogen technology for transport usage needs to be separately assessed from my point of view. So long distance, high energy consuming transport like air, ship, or even heavy duty ground transport will benefit from hydrogen usage and from hydrogen infrastructure. Nevertheless, for passenger car mobility, battery electric vehicles will deliver the best sustainable solution for the next 1 to 2 decades, from an ecologically and also from an economically point of view. So therefore, we count on electromobility in this area, and we are fully encouraged to focus explicitly also for this type of products and the related infrastructure progress that's needed.
Thomas, you heard what Dr. Gude had to say there. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I heard the comments loud and clear. So from Volkswagen, there's going to be no passenger car based on hydrogen for the near future. That's what we heard. I think in the market, we still see that competition still also explores that field. But I think the mix overall, and clearly I think we have the same understanding that for some use cases, it makes a lot of sense. So therefore, I'm looking very much forward that everyone still drives that technology forward, because overall for society, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Jörg, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to add, I mean, my feeling is that at the moment the auto OEMs and also the tiers need the power to bring the EV production running. Yeah. And I see they're putting all capacity into that, and that is, from my point of view, one reason why the hydrogen will take a little bit more time. Just government supporting it at the moment in a lot of countries, but you know, as Mr. Gude said, I would say the next decade I'm not expecting super new things there.
It'll be here before we know it, I'm sure, but there's plenty of plans and processes that have to be put into place. I mean, it's a big, complex project.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed that from different angles already. I mean, in particular in the western part of the world, we have to catch up. And as Thomas said, I mean, in Europe, it's very strong at the moment. We see high and very strong growth rates. And as Dr. Gude said, now they are really looking to transfer complete plants, ECE plants, now into electrical production, and they are on the way. And it is a big challenge, and we are also happy to be here to support. I would say that is a good business for us, to be honest. I mean, that's the positive side of it, that we want to help and to make these companies fast, the autos and the auto OEMs and the tiers. That is definitely a challenge, and we want to help.
Dr. Gude, are you happy with the response that you're hearing and the sort of confirmation that everyone's really aiming for the same plan?
I really appreciate this very fruitful discussion and the insights given by the participants here. So very good statements. So I think it's important to push innovativeness ahead. To meet customer expectations and to be also successful in the market. So a joint competitiveness, that is for us a driving force.
Veronica, if I could just come to you now. Beyond the quest for net zero carbon emissions, there are many other aspects to sustainability in the auto industry. One that will be concerned to many of those joining us today is the question of automation equipment that's no longer needed. When it comes to technology that's no longer fit for purpose, can flexible technology help to breathe new life into traditional equipment?
Absolutely. And I think this is so much related to what we've been sharing until now. Brownfield, greenfield, how technology will evolve and how production areas will evolve. And with the right technology in place, we need to think on being, sorry to say again, but on being flexible to allow and enable flexibility. And this means how can we relocate in an easy manner equipment to places in the world where the demand is increasing. But not only that, is how can we repurpose that equipment because it was initially doing one task and it will go somewhere else and do another task. And this is part of flexibility. On the other hand, new production lines, and this is not just about greenfields, but how we evolve our brownfields and our existing production lines, can be reimagined in a way that we do not think of a line that will remain for many years without many movements or many adaptations, but we reimagine those lines in a way that they will exist as long as the mix is between the ranges we are expecting, and over time it doesn't matter because all equipment is able to be relocated and redeployed and repurposed somewhere else. And this is the lift and shift model we have built in ABB, which is so important also from the fact of thinking that we cannot just throw away material and equipment every time we need to do a change in our lines. This is just not sustainable. And this is also the way to increase the adoption of technology, make it easier so it's easy to be redeployed and repurposed over time.
Thomas, you got anything to add there?
I'm glad actually that this is now the focus which you're having on, and I think also for society in general, I think that repurpose of equipment is something which we at the end, in the past it was not a big problem, right? We had the volume on the lines, we had the foreseeable that for many decades actually it would be the same stuff. And now we have to think about the new concept, and the new concept of like saying like in that short time period the equipment won't pay off. So what do we do with it, right? And having that flexibility drives efficiency if we can utilize it again. I think the last comment which I have here is also what I see is if we have a more standardized cells actually, it's also easier to manage performance, to compare from each location, and then also in terms of maintenance and the whole ecosystem, it becomes more cost efficient as well. So I'm very much looking forward actually to that near-time future.
So we have actually come to the end of our summit session here today. But finally, I'd like to ask you one final question, all of you really. You've had just a moment to reflect. I'll start with you, Dr. Gooda, if I could. You've had a moment to reflect on what you've heard here today. How would you summarize it in your words?
From my point of view, it's clear that the production of EVs requires a brownfield and a greenfield approach. And so I fully agree with the statements given that the acceleration of developments of products launch to the market and to apply also the advantages of new production technologies as stated, automation, flexibility, green technologies. Yeah, so all these levers will help us to really keep our competitiveness and even to enlarge it, to provide attractive products to our customers. And this is really the fact what we are really encourage our resources to attract our customers with these electromobility products.
Thank you, Dr. Gooda. Jörg, how would you summarize today? Or what are you going to take from it?
Well, what is very obvious, there is a strong demand coming with the mobility and the fast growing now, that we have to deliver flexible production units and also technologies driving sustainability. I think all these companies, if it is automotive companies or tiers, they all have now the sustainability in a strong focus. And there we have to chip in and to work together with them. And as Dr. Gooda said, develop technologies driving also sustainability. And of course then supporting at the end of the day to make this big amount of numbers possible when it comes to the production rates then.
Veronica?
Well, I think even if there are many things we do not know about what's coming, the only thing I would say we know is that flexibility is a must, no? And that I think we can all agree after everything we've been sharing. So the question there is how we prepare for that flexibility to come, remaining competitive. And there, I think there's been shared very valuable insights about organizations and how they are structured, as you've pointed about the top-down or more agile and Scrum, collaborative, involving suppliers and becoming partners so that we bring the new, the new together. On the other hand, is how we evolve our own mindset as a company so that we are more flexible to allow others to be more flexible. And last but not least is what are the technological choices we are doing, so that we do not take those technological choices, let's say, from the past view of important technologies that are very difficult to be evolved, but then going into other kind of technologies that allow more flexibility, redeployment, relocation, repurposing, and embracing that brownfields and greenfields will need to be there together.
Thomas?
First of all, I think I want to thank everyone, because every leader in the industry, as I mentioned earlier at the first incoming statement, that everyone is facing so many challenges at the same time, the pandemic, the supply shortage, and having so like 50-60% of the time capacity going towards others and still thinking about the future. I think that's a tremendous job, and I think that's something which I appreciate a lot, that these discussions are still taking place. And then secondly, I think it's a lot on the technology front. If we look in history, we always see technology leaves its traces over time. So it's something which you can already foresee. Like 5-10 years ago, you already see the seeds which have been planted, which will now come into effect, right? And the other element of that is actually we as a society, when we actually pick up that technology and make it happen, put it to work. And that's the good news. I think technology front, I think we are evolving constantly in humankind. I think it's part of our nature to be very curious about things and driving things forward. And it's in our hands actually to bring it actually to adoption. And I'm very much looking forward to do that together with all of you.
So it leaves me to thank you all, Thomas, Veronica, Jörg, and of course, Dr. Goda. Many thanks for your time and joining us today, and very inspirational messages from all of you, I'm sure. Well, it's time to open up this discussion a little further and address as many questions from the audience. So please enter your questions into the chat window and we will address them. I'm afraid that we'll have to stop here as we're now out of time. I've certainly learned a lot and hope our viewers enjoyed our discussion as much as I did. It only leaves me to close the session by thanking our panelists for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome back for the final part of today's Automotive Summit. This is the enlightening part of our day where we get to see the latest from ABB's laboratories in the exclusive unveiling of our innovation portfolio from our very own Thomas Wagner, Global Portfolio and Strategy Manager Automotive, and Václav Škob, Digital Lead Automotive. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
We've been hearing about an increasingly complex market and the need for manufacturers to add flexibility into their processes. How can ABB help?
Thanks, Diana. This is a great question, but it's not a question only for us. It's a question for our viewers. ABB builds the innovative portfolio for the future needs of the automotive industry. ABB's innovative portfolio isn't just a range of automation for customers to piece together for themselves. It's a simple system that can be integrated with a production line to adapt and flex with requirements. People shouldn't think of ABB as a single solution supplier, because we give customers a bespoke solution, automation tailored to their precise needs.
That's right, Thomas. And we will share how the simplicity of our approach allows manufacturers to flex and adapt their lines super fast and without the need for additional downtime.
We literally designed our entire portfolio to interconnect like a huge modular toy set. We will outline the building blocks of the logic behind this approach. Once you see how the system all works holistically, you see how straightforward it is to flex and adapt. And then, with that clear, we will dive into each layer that makes up our system.
Each layer builds into a pyramid of increasingly customizable applications, working from core products to functional modules and application cells. We will show you how it all connects together into bespoke, digitally enabled solutions.
And we will share how useful the resulting data can be.
Okay, so let's begin with something we are all familiar with, the traditional fixed production line. We all know what this looks like. A straight, linear plan. Everything is bolted to the floor of the plant. It's rigid, designed for continuous production at high volume, with a low mix of component variability. But global mobility needs are constantly changing and becoming more complex. With ongoing dynamic shifts in demand across markets, a corresponding change is urgently needed in auto manufacturing. There are more car models with more car bodies. We now have hybrid cars with different powertrains. We have very fast development in the full electric sector. There is a hydrogen technology too. And internal combustion engines haven't gone away quite yet. Meanwhile, the market also expects quicker response on the supply side to greater and greater complexities. And with so many different variants, production has to scale up and down fast, delivering high-definition customization across every model and powertrain, serving many different customers' requirements in each market and region. It's a lot to think about, so that's why flexibility has to become the center cornerstone for all automotive plans as we go forward.
Okay, so here you can see a vision of our approach, of a flexible line with products, functional modules, and application cells. Flexibility is the answer, and here's how we enable it, with a building block system that offers a really coherent and simple portfolio. So starting at the bottom level, you can see the products with robots, software, and peripheral equipment. Now moving up the pyramid, the second layer is called functional modules. More on these we will see later. By combining products with functional modules along with the necessary additional safety features, it's easy to build modular, scalable application cells, tailor-made plans, laddering all the way up to complete smart solutions for manufacturing plants. With intralogistics, planning and support, automation can be combined and configured any way it's needed, delivering digitally enabled flexible systems with full application software and data collection at every point of action, as well as full traceability of each component and action on every machine. So let's dive into that first bottom layer of the pyramid, and I will chunk off the products by category. First, the group of industrial robots that many people would picture today when they think of robotic automation. Then we have another dedicated category for painting robots. And here an innovative category, our collaborative robots or cobots. It's clear to us that automation will require increasing collaboration between people and robots. So this group of innovations embraces those possibilities. Two of our exciting new additions here are the Gopher and the Swifty, which are very cool and really worth exploring further when you have some time. Then another category for us is mobile robotics, which includes our latest acquisition of ASTI Mobile Robotics. Intralogistics mobile robots, which can be both guided HGVs or autonomous AMRs, are deployed to breathe new life into legacy automation. Reimagine the way that static manufacturing islands can be connected. The additional peripherals category covers any accessory equipment needed to ensure safety and compliance. Finally, the machine automation category, the factory control systems, motion control, and intelligent transportation systems, which are suitable for fast, small assembly lines like EV battery cells or packs. So that's the way we organize our products. Not only are we the only supplier in the world with such a comprehensive product offering, we are the only supplier in the world that offers anything like this at all. Then at the next level, we have the functional modules. These cover off those essential traditional processes like spot welding and all the familiar assembly tasks. But they also include a lot of exciting innovations like pixel paint, a painting solution where you can really customize car livery any way you like, in high definition and great complexity, and a sustainable way. So it's clearly something unique and very attractive for our customers. A dedicated breakout session will provide further insights into this topic. Functional modules also include quality inspection units and our flex loader portfolio, which manipulates parts, kitting, and most aspects of the parts handling flow. So a lot of these functional modules offer easy-to-use applications with a far greater degree of flexibility than traditional fixed automation. ABB has deep history and know-how in this space, with decades of application and process experience. So this is really proven technology. But what makes it really exciting is the way it interconnects with the next layer.
Exactly, the application cell portfolio. So going up to the pyramid, these cells at greater levels of customization. Body shop, EV, arc and laser welding, interior and exterior, all the way to the final assembly. In our portfolio of application cells, you get two main benefits. First, scalability. When you need more capacity, you can add more cells. Second, flexibility. When your demand is changing, you can easily exchange and use different cells in your production line. And I should just mention here, if you have a particular interest in our application cells, a number of these will be covered off in the breakout sessions later on. So you look out for those as options to choose in your personal schedule today. So we can see how flexibility is baked into our fundamental approach. Let's now see how it all connects together into holistic smart system. This is how we see the future. Let's connect all the layers of the pyramid together. Behind me, you can see AMRs, AGVs, the kitting zone with the flex loaders, our modular application cells for welding, and last but not least, also the quality inspection. This video demonstrates the transition from the traditional layout into a flexible one, reducing logistical complexity by integrating AMRs into the production line itself, allowing total flexibility and scalability. Best of all, everything in ABB's entire portfolio is digitally enabled, collecting every aspect of the machine performance and the provenance of every part and component. The insights this feedback delivers allows plants to maximize overall equipment efficiency, secure the full traceability, providing a ledger of every single produced part. So it's a unique information system that not only collects data from the robots, but from the processes as well, and across every production counter in the entire plant.
ABB's portfolio offers unrivaled breadth in application anywhere in the world. The pyramid system allows you to be as flexible as the market is dynamic, keeping pace and thriving in a new world of opportunities. I should stress that point, those who invest in flexible automation now will be ready with the complexity that the market increasingly demands. Our portfolio is also available around the world, offering global solutions locally. We are excited about our portfolio because it offers the kind of agility the new world demands, adapting on the fly as things change. If you found this session inspiring, there's new stuff coming soon.
Thanks for your time. And now, back to you, Diana.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. A lot of exciting stuff to take in there after such an insightful look into those processes. It's now time to take a look at what's happening closer to home.
Hello, I'm Bobby Polak. I'm the Director of Automotive Products. The Automotive Products Group is a global team that provides base robot models, automotive products and applications in close collaboration with our automotive customers, with a focus on bringing added values that differentiate us from our competition. Some of our products include over 26 base robot models ranging from 3 kg to 800 kg with multiple variants, flex tracks, weld guns and weld equipment, software framework and function packages, which include various applications.
Hi, my name is Jeff Cameron. I'm a project manager here at ABB. I've been working on rotor assemblies for the automotive industry, and we've got a team here that is now specialists in this field, and we feel that we can provide excellent solutions to other customers. There's lots of reasons why to use ABB. One main thing is our teamwork that we have here at ABB, and we have built technology with our partners and our customers in building these rotor assemblies.
Hi, my name is John Ashworth, and I am the Director of Paint Systems in North America. The RB1000i Connected Atomizer is a smart atomizer which allows the factory floor to see advanced diagnostics and also allows for better maintenance information. The IRB 5527 is a unique painting robot that combines our traditional IRB 5500 with a rotary 7th axis. The unique operation allows for it to be mounted in several different configurations: inverted, wall-mounted, and floor-mounted. Our interior painting cell utilizes the IRB 52 robot. This robot is in an inverted fashion so that it maximizes the work envelope without interfering with the painting robot operation. This is very effective to allow the door holding and door closing process. The ABB Beta Foam project allows us to combine the benefits of the IRB 4600 robot with a 2K dispensing solution. It also integrates the ABB Vision solution. This total package gives the optimum process capability for Beta Foam applications.
Welcome to our new robotics area in Brazil. Open in October 2021, this new center is ready to support our customers in the region. With 3,500 square meters available, dedicated only to robotics, we can support even better our customer at the new challenges coming. We are here to serve our customers with a new training center with the latest ABB technology, new refurbishment center, supporting customers with currently installed base, more space to assemble our robotics projects before installation, and more space to keep our spare parts. We are ready to receive you here and increase even more the customer experience in this new place.
Hello again for the final time as we bring the Automotive Summit to a close. I would now like to invite you to choose 2 of the breakaway sessions out of the 10 that are available on the menu. Once you've made that choice, then please just head straight on in. Now, we really hope you enjoyed the summit. It's really been full of very updated factual information. And of course, if you want to know anything more about ABB, please get in touch. And if you'd like a link to any of our on-demand content, then we'd be more than happy to send that to you. A huge thank you to our panelists for all their expertise and knowledge and for sharing that with us today. And a final thank you to you for joining us. From me, though, it's time to say goodbye until next time. Bye-bye.